Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
I'm here to tell you tonight that the businessmen, the mayor of this city, the police commissioner of this city, and everybody in the white power structure of this city must take a responsibility for everything.
Can you feel it? Can you feel it?
Luther and I, and everyone in this arena tonight, are unified by the same great American values. We're proud of our country. We respect our flag. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Race is when you use your power and influence to subject people into inferiority. Utterances can't be racist.
Look around you, man. They own this shit. They own this couch you sitting on, them shoes you got on your feet, this building, this school, this country, you. We're behind enemy lines, dog.
So you must first of all remember that this system was not originally designed with black people in mind. Right on, brother. Right on. And it definitely was not prepared for black people to, in the end, begin to demand their rights and an equal share in this country which they died for. Right on. Hey, and we definitely are not going back to Africa.
In the church, we used to sing the song, "Good news, the chariot is coming." While you sit here today, knowing that you have come to hear good news, you must realize in advance what good news for you might be bad news for somebody else. What good news for the sheep might be bad news to the wolf.
They say, oh, things are getting so much better for you. In 1849, it was hitting blacks on the head 100 times a day. In 1990, they hit them 48 times a day. Isn't it better? Oh, it's got to be better. You're saying 52 blows.
The only purpose of most black Americans on earth today is to destroy.
I think that's noble. Italians love Italians. When Irish love Irish. But when a nigga loves a nigga, it's an unpardonable sin. They have blood in their hands. When we say they have blood in their hands, we are not saying him, George Bezos, went and killed. But white people colonized us. They dispersed us. They enslaved our people. They sucked our economy dry. They are still sucking it dry even today. That's white people. Tony Blair, George Bush, Napoleon Bonaparte, Leopold, Adolf Hitler, Benjamin Netanyahu, all white people, they are the same. They are racist and they are full of hate.
I've been waiting for you. You have many questions, and though the process has altered your consciousness, you remain irrevocably human. Ergo, some of my answers you will understand, and some of them you will not. Concordantly, while your first question may be the most pertinent, you may or may not realize it is also the most irrelevant.
Why am I here?
Our world is coming crumbling down. The coons are coming.
You got to understand that white America has an uncanny way of making the victim the victimizer. Excuse me, master, for putting my head in the way of your club. Not that your club is brutalizing my head and putting hickeys on it. My head got in the way of your free swing and broke your shiny stick, and I want to apologize for that.
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the Matrix. You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision. While it remains a burden assiduously avoided, it is not unexpected and thus not beyond a measure of control. has led you inexorably here.
There are more connections in the human body than there are stars in the galaxy. We possess a gigantic network of information to which we have almost no access.
Matrix is older than you know. I prefer counting from the emergence of one integral anomaly to the emergence of the next, in which case this is the 6th version.
5 months before me. 3. There are only 2 possible explanations. There were 5 months before me. Either no one told me, or no one knows.
Precisely. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equations.
Control me! I'm gonna smash you to fucking death! Let me kill you! You can't make me do anything like trick!
Choice. The problem is choice.
Let us remember that we are not brutalized because we're Baptists. We're not brutalized because we're Methodists. We're not brutalized because we're Muslims. We're not brutalized because we're Catholics. We're brutalized because we are black people in America.
Because white people made him to be what he is. They made him to look evil, because that's their role, to make all of us black people to look evil and to hate ourselves. I can't hate
you. A nigga till you die. If you're a poor nigga, you're a poor nigga. If you're a rich nigga, you're a rich nigga. But you never stop being a nigga. And if you get to be educated, you're just an educated nigga.
I'm told every day I'm on air that I'm racist because I call out racism. That is maddening to me, and I'm crying about it because it's crazy.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching you and I and trying to tell the white man, get this powder keg out of his house. Let the black man separate from his house. Let the black man have his own house. Let the black man have his own land and his own property.
I thought the bitch was white! Damn it! I thought the bitch was white!
That's true.
I think that white people are so guilty, knowing what they've done to black people, that they feel if the deeds were reversed, they would hate the black man if he had done the same thing to them. So it's actually, it reflects a guilt complex on the part of whites when they ask us, do we hate them? And if you notice, Uncle Sam has formed a habit of going all over the world. He calls it the ugly American, or the American image. He thinks that everybody hates him because it's a guilt complex. And if you think that if you are worried about Europeans hating you, and they're your allies and your cousins, well, naturally it would follow for you to think that Negroes in this country would hate you, especially in light of what has been done to black people in this country by white people.
Now, check it out. The white ball dominates everything, right? Knocks the shit out the yellow ball, the red ball, right? And the game's over when the white ball drives the black ball completely off the table.
But you have to see that all of this is hypocrisy.
I love Malcolm. Malcolm called me the Sunday that he died. I was working Basin Street East. He said, "Brother Greg, you coming by today?" And I said, "Malcolm, I love you." And I said, "I love you so much, I don't even want to take a chance to be there." He said, "What do you mean, Brother Greg?" I said, "Well, I close tonight, Sunday night at Basin Street East." And I said, "But I had my wife book me a flight into Chicago at 8 o'clock this morning, and I'm going to Chicago, and I had way beneath my salary booked me into a college about 10 miles from the airport. And I'm going to go there and speak this afternoon, and I'm going to stay there until they tell me you dead. Because I'm not going to let this government get 2 of us for the price of 1. And I'm going to call Adam Clayton Powell when I finish talking to you and beg him not to come there. Because today, the United States government is going to get you."
Yeah, what's good, everybody? What's good? Welcome. You know what time it is. It's that show, the most hated in the black corner of the internet. It's the show that can't get past 100 views. It's the show that people seem to be offended by. It's that show, the one and only, That's right. So let me get the spiel out the way before we get into it tonight. Want to thank, first and foremost, subscribers who might be in the house. What's good, fam? No, it's kind of one depending on what's part of the country you're in. You might got a lot of snow tonight, so you kind of snowed in a little bit. But the show is always good and give you something for it. Passerbyers, welcome. How you doing? Glad to see you out. Shop around. Maybe you like something. Hit that like button, that dislike button, or hit that comment and say that nigga full of shit. Agents, do what you do, because that's what they pay you to do. That's how you pay your mortgage, your life, right? So anyway, let me get into this host. So hello and welcome to the Black Minds News. I'm your host, the Whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Mind. This channel is to report, transmit, communicate, articulate, reiterate, decode, unveil, spread the news, whether it's by news, video, website, or quotes from publication. As I, your whiteologist, articulate these information, I ask that the creator of the universe be present. As a descendant of the greatest people who created the greatest country in this world, from descendants of the greatest people who ever assembled that, and on this channel over here, we give honor. You know why? Because the truth don't need no partner. And you know what my motto is? I'm not going to tell you what I heard. I'm going to tell you what I know. All right, y'all. Y'all been a little slow. Belly's all full. Packages all in your back, right? Stuffed up with all kind of stuff you really didn't need. You got this because the word said sale, right? That's okay. We know we had to take that time off. Now that all the hustle and bustle is dying down, they're going to hype up to the next one. So anyway, since we're going to talk about a little bit about merchandise and businesses, let's say it like this. Let me give you a little bit of the history. Let's say, the Tulsa, Oklahoma riots, right, what sometimes they refer to as the Tulsa Massacre, right, or the Tulsa Pogroms, right, or they also called the Tulsa Race Massacres, right. They took place back in May 31st and June 1st of 1921 when a mob of white citizens attacked black residents and businesses of Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma. This is considered one of the worst incidents of racial violence in the history of the United States. The attack carried out on the grounds and by air and destroyed more than 35 blocks of the district, and at the time, the wealthiest black community in the United States. Black Tulsa, Oklahoma. For those who didn't know about that, and if you want to do some more extensive research on it, feel free to look it up. Tulsa, Oklahoma, where our ancestors who had built up a segment of Oklahoma after surviving and getting in there and setting it up and trying to become independent. You know what happens. You know the old saying. You built up jealousy and envy for those who are not just as adequate, and their eyes is all up on what you doing, and next thing you know, they plotting. They scheming, figuring out a way how we can destroy it and take it for ourselves. Not that they don't pull themselves by their bootstraps, but they just couldn't figure, because it was an old saying that said, I'd rather be a nigger than a poor white man, right? That was an old saying. They said, I'd rather be a nigger than a poor white man. So guess what? Poor white man that scene that was built up in 1921 decided they was going to do something about it. And so as I just gave you a little bit of the history of that, right? There's an individual who just about a day or so that was part of that and actually became the last survivor of what took place. So let me give you a little bit of that, and we'll sit back and come back a little bit and check this out, and everything working good tonight. Sit back and relax for a minute, and let's see how it goes.
Oklahoma City. Olivia Hooker, one of the last survivors of the 1921 Tulsa race riots and among the first black women in the U.S. Coast Guard, has died. She was 103. Hooker was 6 years old when one of the worst race riots in U.S. history broke out and destroyed much of a Tulsa neighborhood known as Black Wall Street. She hid under a table as a torch-carrying mob destroyed her family's home, she told National Public Radio in an interview this year. She recalled hearing the mob use an axe to destroy her sister's piano. For a child, she said, it was horrifying trying to keep quiet. The most shocking was seeing people you'd never done anything to irritate would just took it upon themselves to destroy your property because they didn't want you to have those things, said Hooker, who died this week at her home in New York, according to her goddaughter. The number of deaths from the riot was never confirmed, but estimates vary from about 36 to 300 or more. The violence began after a black man allegedly assaulted a white woman in an elevator in Tulsa. Following the riots, Hooker's family moved. And during World War II, she became the first African American woman to join the U.S. Coast Guard as a member of the Semper Paratus program, or SPAR, in which she prepared discharges for guardsmen returning from the war and rejoining civilian life, according to the Coast Guard. She was a national treasure, she was a very special lady, Coast Guard spokesman Barry Lane said. She went on to earn a master's degree from Columbia University and a PhD in psychology from the University of Rochester and later worked as a professor at Fordham University in New York, according to the Coast Guard. Her goddaughter, Janice Porter, said Hooker died Wednesday at their home in White Plains, New York. Porter said her godmother had no surviving relatives. She didn't provide a cause of death. Her mind was clear, no dementia. She was just tired, Porter said Friday. Hooker was also a member of the Tulsa Race Riot Commission, now called the Tulsa Race Massacre Commission, which has sought reparations for those impacted by the violence and their survivors.
Welcome back. New at 6, a Tulsa family says goodbye to the last local survivor of the 1921 race riot. Hazel Jones lived to be 99 and spent the last decades advocating for peace in Oklahoma.
Bringing awareness and bringing acknowledgement of what happened and some kind of resolution.
2 Works For You reporter Megan Allison sat down with her family and shows us the legacy she left behind.
It was a story that Hazel Jones kept quiet for years. Fearing a Ku Klux Klan presence in Tulsa, she stayed silent over the violence that shook this community. But once she spoke out, peace was a mission she pushed for until her final days.
And there's still a lot of work to be done, a lot of dialogue that needs to be had.
The Jones family says the 1921 riot shaped their grandmother into the person she was meant to be. She was only 2 years old during what's described as the worst incident of racial violence in American history. But relatives say she carried the memory her entire life.
I remember as a little girl seeing the cross burning. I think that was one of the most vivid things that stuck in her mind. Also the screams, not knowing what was happening.
On that day, gangs of white Tulsans lit fires throughout the African American community of Greenwood. Thousands said goodbye to their homes and hundreds lost their lives. Almost 100 years later, the Jones family says there's still work to do.
That we can all come together as one and stop being so divided, because these many years later, we're still divided.
Hazel's grandchildren say in some Tulsa neighborhoods, that division is clearly visible.
I think there's a mentality of separation between different parts of the city, the north side, other parts of the city.
Hazel fought for reparations for survivors of the riot for years, even marching in Washington, D.C. But her family sees her as more than just an advocate. They tell us she was the kindest person they ever knew and the glue of the family.
And this is the meeting place. This is where everybody came to gather around, and especially on Sundays, this is where the place to be was. So it's going to be an adjustment since she's not here anymore.
There will be a service for Jones tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. at the North Peoria Church of Christ, but the family expects a large crowd to honor her. Reporting in the Greenwood District, Megan Allison, 2 Works For You.
Okay. So again, I'm kind of confused because they said her name was what they said, but the report that I read, didn't it say Olivia Hooker? Right? Right? Well, it was Olivia Juliet Hooker, born February 12th of 1915, died November 21st of 2018, was an American psychologist and professor. She was the last known survivor of the Tulsa race riots of 1921 and the first African-American woman to enter the U.S. Coast Guard in February of 1945. Hooker became a SPAR, which is a Semper Paratus Always Ready, a member of the United States Coast Guard Women Reserve during World War II, earning ranks of yeoman, second class during her service. She served in the Coast Guard until her unit was disbanded in the mid-1946. She went on to become a psychologist and a professor at Fordham University. So on this show, as we give honor to our ancestors, we give a moment of silence for that sister because she was the last survivor of that tragic history that we had in this country, as they called the 1921 Tulsa, Oklahoma riots. So, Olivia, we give praise and honor to you for being a descendant and the last one to show that that history was real. Matter of fact, I'm going to actually put her picture up as a second of honor for her and her family. Now, as we talked about what was going on in Oklahoma, right, and a lot of the lives that was lost based on the simple fact that they were just trying to establish themselves to be independent, self-sufficient, and do what they say the mantras for all people who are, proficient and able. Is self-preservation, is take care of yourself and family and so forth. But again, it seems like any time when we try to do something to be independent, people have problems. Now, again, as it talked about that which took place in 1921 and the riots that took place, again, we know who that Klan was, right? So when we see that, right, we just say, okay, well, people believe, okay, well, that was 1921. We're 2018, just about 97 years ago. So, maybe things done changed a lot. But as you've seen, one of the siblings or offsprings were saying that as much as we would like to think that it is, but things don't change. So let's look at this next story, just to show you the same theme, right? So, when you think of what they say, First Amendment, right? Freedom of speech, right? Right. I think everybody agrees that speaking what's on your mind and heart, right? You have the right if that's what you choose to do. Now, they said picture is 1,000 words, so does a picture qualify as a speech? Ask you something. If somebody says that, they old saying, they say is a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So would a picture be considered free speech? Well, okay, let y'all be the judge of this. Let me show you something that somebody's using the picture that looks like they're trying to say that what took place here was the freedom of speech, and it was really not nothing. So you know how they do it. So let me show you, and let's check it out. Make sure I get it right here.
Throw up the high sign, and it was kind of mass confusion because we were all kind of goofing around and stuff because we didn't really want to take the pictures and all that. So we were all kind of goofing around on the steps, and he says throw up the high sign, and we were kind of confused, like we didn't know what the high sign was. So I actually turned to one of my friends in the picture and was like, hey, what's going on? He said, I don't know, just stick your hand out. because that's what he demonstrated. He kind of took his hand from his body and stuck it out. So I just turned and stuck my hand up, and that's kind of what happened.
Did the photographer say anything to you that made you kind of think that it could be a Nazi symbol?
No, nothing like that.
Did the people around you say anything?
No, not until afterwards. After we saw the picture, we thought, oh, maybe that kind of looks a little bit bad. Well, I'd seen all the negative news and stuff just on Twitter and on different news stations. It's all negative, so I decided, like, I think people should know the truth, and it wasn't like a hateful comment, or not comment, gesture, and we weren't trying to be discriminatory towards anybody. It was just a big confusion. I think everybody should know that we're sorry. It wasn't supposed to be a hateful gesture at all. It was just mass confusion. Like, we were told to do one thing, and it was interpreted as another on social media just because of the comment that was placed with the post. We all kind of know about the Holocaust and what that meant, that gesture meant. So, and that's not at all what we were trying to do. And we're deeply sorry for anybody that we offended, and that's not at all what we meant.
Auschwitz Memorial says freedom of speech, no excuse for apparent Nazi salute photo. You know I'm going to say that again. Auschwitz Memorial says freedom of speech, no excuse for apparent Nazi salute. This story was done November 24th, 2018. And this is how it reads. A group of Wisconsin teens won't be disciplined for a photo in which the boys appear to hold their arms up in a Nazi salute, and the reason why isn't holding much water with the Auschwitz Memorial. On Saturday, the Twitter account representing the memorial and museum for the former Nazi concentration camp posted a rebuke to school officials' argument that the boys are protected by freedom of speech. Let's only hope that the protection of freedom of speech will not become a too easy excuse for parents, teachers, community, and educators to do nothing about this painful public expression of hate speech in the form of a Nazi salute, the tweet said. The photo showing a group of teens in the suits, many with a single arm outstretched straight overhead, went viral earlier this month. Though the photo was apparently taken last spring, the photo received international attention, prompting both the Baraboo School District as well as the local police to launch investigations. School officials condemned the photo at the time, referring in a statement November 12 to the teens' extremely inappropriate gestures. Officials now say free speech rights would make it difficult to discipline students who appear in the photograph. The State Journal reported that Baraboo Superintendent Lori Mueller said in a letter to parents Wednesday that the officials cannot know the intentions of the heart of those involved. She also said the district isn't in a position to punish the students because they are protected by the First Amendment. The person behind the camera of one of the teens has argued that it was simply a poorly timed snap. Pete Gus told the Associated Press that the boys were waving to their parents at the time of the photo. There was nothing intended in any way, shape, or form to simulate anything that was offensive to anyone, Gus said. If there's any error, it was in me in the timing of the shot. This isn't the first time the Auschwitz Memorial commented publicly on the photo. In November 12 tweet, it warned against the normalization of hatred, noting, "This is why we work so hard every day to educate." Approximately 6 million Jewish people, along with Roma, homosexuals, and other minorities, were killed by Nazis in acts of force during the Holocaust. More than 1 million people died at Auschwitz through disease, starvation, and in its gas chambers. It was the largest of Adolf Hitler's concentration camp and operated from 1940 until 1945. Baraboo is a town about 12,000, about 185 kilometers northwest of Milwaukee. Okay, so there you have the story of what happened at a high school that was in Wisconsin. And they were taking a school photo, and as you've seen, matter of fact, I think I should be able to show you exactly what the photo, just in case you probably didn't catch it there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that up on the screen for you to see. All right, so you see how their hands is up, and it's showing the Nazi salute. But did you hear in the story how they said that the cameraman, right, told them like they were waving? You know, a little connotation ass shit, that connotative language that Caucasians use. They say one thing, but they have another meaning. It's kind of like when you look up words, right? When you look up words, and words can have 5, 10, 15 different meanings. So it's incumbent on you to try to figure out what term they're using. That's why you have to get a lawyer to understand law, because again, they coming at you again. What did the Indians say? They speak with a forked tongue. So this picture here that's represented here is trying to tell you that these high school students had no idea what they were doing, and the cameraman was like, well, just wave your hand, right? Wave your hand. See, came up with something, right? Came up with, oh, we were waving our hand. And it was just, blame it on me as a cameraman, because it was me taking the photo and they just happened to catch them in that position. Ironically, look at that. What are the odds of you catching, we're going to say at least 30, 40 people? Maybe we say about that. We say about 30, 40 people. All catching them at the one time doing that. Huh? What's the odds of that? Right? Right? So again, the insensitivity of people not respecting other people about their plights. Now again, I advocate for my people, but again, I use that situation because again, that same as Jews look at, Auschwitz. Well, we have a Holocaust right here in the United States. Matter of fact, we just lost one of the last survivors who were one part of series of things that will be Holocaust, right? Don't you think? Do you agree or you disagree? You agree? I think you agree, right? And so, discipline. Now, again, we see that because they have institutions that when you do things like that towards them, those institutions goes out and advocate for. Matter of fact, was a story just the other day. They went and grabbed the dude that was 95 years old that they said that he worked as part of the, infantry, or he was in one of the, janitors or whatever it was, a part of Auschwitz, and they done brought his ass to trial at 95 years old. They ain't letting nobody. They can find anybody. They don't care if you on your deathbed. They gonna drag your ass in there and they gonna prosecute you. So, even though I know that a lot of people say, well, you guys' history is a long time ago. Okay, so we can't dig motherfuckers up and take them and go in court, right? We can't do that shit, right? So, again, you have to remedy some of this shit, right? There be some remedy, but nobody want to talk about no remedy there. That's just a figure of our imagination, right? So, it's just funny how when you looked at this dude that was doing the interview, did you see the smirk on his face? Here he is, that they're going to be, ostracized and stigmatized by this word that they normally would put on. Well, we know that, see, Minister Louis Farrakhan, every time he speaks, they're going to say, right? What's the word they use? Huh? Anti-Semitic. But I ain't hear that one time in the report, nor on the video, anti-Semitic. Right? And the way that young boy was sitting there smirking, he didn't have a care in the world, like they ain't shit y'all gonna do to us anyway. Matter of fact, the report told you you can't even prosecute them. They ain't even there's gonna be nothing done to them because they said you can't tell what was in their heart. Well, the cameraman said he was telling them wave to the camera, and it just happened to catch the camera in the pose that it is. So what are you talking about, right? So all they could say was, well, you know, it's not, it doesn't look good in this, and you're using First Amendment, right? What is the First Amendment, right? You know, people always say that shit, right? About, well, my First Amendment rights, right? Well, Wikipedia says that freedom of speech the article is about the freedom of speech in general. It is about, let's see what it says. Let's see, okay. Freedom of speech is a principle that supports the freedom of an individual or a community to articulate their opinions and ideas without fear of retaliation. To articulate, right? And ideas without fear of retaliation. That's what Mr. Blows Your Minds, right? Okay. Or legal sanctions. The term freedom of expression is sometimes used synonymously, but includes any acts of seeking, receiving, and imparting information or ideas regardless of the medium use. Freedom of expression is recognized as a human right under Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is UDHR, and recognized in international human rights law and the International Covenant on Civil Rights or Civil and Political Rights. You want some more? Go read on that. But the point was that you have the right to articulate your ideal without persecution. So tell me how that picture is that. But again, the connotative language is a picture is 1,000 words. Slick, boy, slick. Boy, slick. So Defamation League had to back up. All right. You watch yourself, though. We watching you. That's all they do. We watching you. But boy, let that have been us. There would have been nothing you could have used to, you know what I'm saying, to make that right. Well, again, okay, so, all right, let's move on now, right? So that's how that goes, right? So what's good for the goose is good for the gander, except unless you got institutions to enforce it, right? So on the whim of that, so okay, we kind of on a little theme. Check the theme. I said, okay, we got when we was building Black, right? We was building Black Tulsa, Oklahoma. It got destroyed. And then you have this here talking about people saluting and saying, well, no, we wasn't doing that. No, okay. So if you combine them two together, one had internment camps, concentration camp. The other one was plantation, right? But that one is somewhere in another country, not so much here, even though a lot of them have come here. And then you got to read about Project Paperclip, and you'll find out some more shit. So on the theme of plantation, right, is, again, does the plantation still exist in this country? You know, a lot of people like to say, oh, man, slavery was a long time ago, man. Why are you still focused on that? Well, that's because I believe the plantations are still alive and kicking and thriving. And I think some of this shit that we're seeing that's before our eyes got something to do. Because let's say, for instance, if like this Black Corner is out here trying to, you know, bring some kind of consciousness to our people to say, you come on, look, we're trying to do this, we're trying to do this, you know, y'all need to stop that. So it just slowly is seeping into the communities. And so even though when you watch the media, right, when you use or watch TV media, right, we go always plaster. They're going to keep finding those stories. And look at you, nigga. Look what you do. Look what you do. You're killing yourself, right? And so it justifies a lot of people getting ushered and going into jail, right? So let's say, okay, let's look at this. So when we start slowing down and we're not going in as much, do they got another way of doing it? Do they got other ways to get, you know, people to usher them in there? Because again, it's kind of like if you know anything about hotel, right? They have occupancy, right? You know, hotels have occupancy, right? So you do the call around, say, I mean, we got 60% occupancy. This one, we got about 75%. Okay, so you do the occupancy, right? So that's the same thing like these jails when they became private, right? So there's a contract between them and somebody got to fill this shit up. Or otherwise, you renege on a contract and then you owe us money, right? And then we those who are out here who doing everything to keep their ass from going to jail, right? you're looking for a job, employment, you're like, it's hard as fuck. Maybe you done fucked up again when you was little and all this other shit, and it's hard for you, right? Not all you bougies. I ain't gonna talk about you. I ain't talking about you kundalas. I ain't talking about, Again, I don't got nothing against you. I'm just saying, this for the lowlies. And, a lot of people don't like to talk to the lowly. So anyway, what do they have for you? Well, check this out. Let me show you something here. Let me give you a little something here. You know how Mr. Blows Your Mind do it. Got to show you stuff. We're gonna be out there, and I know sometimes y'all not looking at that stuff, but that's my part. That's where I come in at, right? So sit back for a second, check this out, and I'll be right back.
While the U.S. may be struggling for work, there's currently a real boom of job offers for inmates in the country. Both state and some of the biggest private companies are now enjoying the fruits of a cheap and readily available workforce, with tens of millions of dollars spent by private prisons to keep their jails full. RT's Gaina Chichikan takes up the story.
In the U.S., the market for cheap labor is booming behind bars. In the last 15 years, partnership between prisons and private manufacturers has increased significantly. They're becoming America's very own Chinese-style manufacturing line behind prison walls. Prisons, in fact, advertise themselves as such, as an alternative to outsourcing cheap labor to China or elsewhere. On the web, we came across this pitch that prisons prepared to persuade private sector companies to come and do business with them. Take a look.
There is not enough folks that will do this type of work in this country. So therefore, we're bringing back this industry that historically has been going out of this country, and we're putting it, inside the walls. And it's absolutely a perfect idea. I have a workforce that does not have car problems or babysitting problems, etc. They're always here, and they're always willing to come to work.
Bring your business to our labor.
A wide variety of industries take advantage of prison labor. Among many other things, prisoners make clothing, textiles, electronics, furniture, and even solar panels.
Just as we're trying to get China to stop with their prison labor, ours is at the same time increasing.
Hundreds of companies have used prison labor directly or through subcontractors, including Microsoft, Boeing, Starbucks, Victoria's Secret, and others.
They qualify for federal tax breaks. They can get recompensated up to 40% of the wages that they pay to these inmates. We as taxpayers, we have to house, feed, and provide medical care and everything for all of these inmates. We do this as taxpayers. It comes out of the tax pools. And that keeps the actual prison workforce healthy and in shape to go out and perform these jobs for these private companies.
Hard-working and reliable, inmates show up for work every day voluntarily.
Work in prison is mandatory, and the choice many inmates have is whether to work for a government-run prison industry for less than $1 an hour or a private one for a minimum wage of around $6. Unicor is a government-owned corporation that uses prison labor to produce all kinds of goods, mainly for other government agencies. 175 different types of products and services. You see the variety listed on their website. They too partner up with private firms now. Last year, Unicor's revenue reached $900 million. As far as private prisons are concerned, two of the country's biggest prison corporations made $3.3 billion last year alone.
Private prisons are traded on the New York Stock Exchange. They are for-profit companies, and the savings that they reap from using inmate labor go to their bottom line. It's money they otherwise don't have to spend in order to keep a facility running.
Large prison populations and harsh sentences result in greater profits. America's three major private prison companies spend around $45 million over the past 10 years on lobbying state and federal governments for supporting immigrant detention, mandatory minimum sentences, three strikes laws, and other legislative measures that contribute to the growth of America's gigantic prison population. The U.S. now holds more people behind bars than any other nation. More than 2 million. That's 1/4 of all prisoners in the world. From a cost-effectiveness point of view, the $45 million that private prisons have reportedly spent over the past decade lobbying to keep prisons full is peanuts compared to the billions that they make every year. One can argue about the many causes and effects of America's skyrocketing incarceration rate, but since prisons became a for-profit industry in the U.S. 30 years ago, the number of prisoners has gone up dramatically. Not to say that it was the only cause behind the spike, but many argue it was part of it. And now with the cheap labor market expanding behind American bars, one is wondering whether the justice system in the U.S. is adopting market values. In Washington, I'm Ganesh Shekan.
A lawsuit that's been in the works since 2014 has just been granted class action status by a federal judge. That means the suit now covers up to 60,000 immigrants who've been detained by Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The suit specifically targets GEO Group, one of the largest private prison companies in the country, and claims that detained immigrants were forced to work for $1 a day or less, which is a clear violation of anti-slavery laws in the United States. Joining me now to talk about the suit is Nina DeSalvo, Executive Director of Towards Justice, a workers' rights organization involved in the suit. Nina, can you start by outlining why it's so significant that this suit was granted class action status and the specific laws that the suit maintains are being violated? How does all this fit together for the immigrant?
Well, the granting of the class action certification is tremendously important for the vindication of the rights of these detainees and workers. It's our understanding that these practices have been going on for a very long time, decades perhaps, and up until this point, nobody has been able to complain until our lawsuit was brought. And that just demonstrates how unlikely it is that without the class action mechanism, current and former detainees held by GEO in their Aurora facility here in Colorado would be able to vindicate their rights. So at this point, our clients allege two central violations. The first is a violation of the forced labor protections in the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, and the second is a violation that led to GEO's unjust enrichment on the backs of its captive workforce.
Okay, let me ask you something. First of all, clear up, why are these people being detained to begin with? Are these people that have committed horrible crimes throughout the country? Why are they there to begin with? Let's start there and then work backwards from there. Tell us what the typical detainee, what's the history on the typical detainee?
That's a really good question, because I think a lot of people immediately think of work conducted by prisoners in a prison, and an immigrant detention center is very different. An immigrant detention center is holding people who are either suspected of or have found to have violated the immigration laws. That's a civil violation. It's not a criminal offense. So some people are detained awaiting determination of their immigration status and may actually be found to be in this country legally after some period of detention. Other people are detained awaiting deportation or other proceedings. But regardless, none of them are being detained as would be related to any criminal violation.
Well, I mean, isn't that, first of all, isn't that an important distinction as you go forward and argue this lawsuit? I mean, as soon as you hear it, the average American says, well, my gosh, they're in prison, they must have done something wrong. But the truth is they're there for civil, really for breaking civil laws where it comes to their status of being in the United States. And so I think that's one big difference here. So talk to us about how it is that you got low, non-existent wages. They're not unique to immigrant detainees. We know that. Most federal prisons, they don't earn any more than $1.15 an hour. So why would the anti-slavery statute only apply to immigrants that are being detained? What's the difference here? People are used to seeing road crews where prisoners are working for $1.15 an hour. But this is a little different, isn't it?
Yeah, this is absolutely different, and I think you really hit the nail on the head. The difference is between being a civil detainee, breaking a civil law. We've all probably broken a civil law when we got a speeding ticket, right? And no one can then force us to work. Whereas the 13th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which bans slavery, contains an exception for folks who have been convicted of a crime. That exception has no place in the GEO Immigrant Detention Center, where they're holding civil immigrant detainees.
Well, GEO has made this into an industry, haven't it? I mean, this isn't the first time that we've heard about this company being in the news for something that looks a little hinky. Tell us a little bit about GEO. Why is it that we're not paying more attention to this? You know, this is not a story that you've seen. You certainly haven't seen corporate media reporting this story in any big way. Tell us why this has been below the surface.
Well, I think you really made the point in the very first question, which is why is it so important that this case has been certified as a class action litigation? And it's really because Towards Justice is representing such a vulnerable group of individuals who up until this point haven't been able to defend their rights, their workplace rights as regards to the work that they're conducting while detained by GEO. So we just have this dramatic imbalance of power between GEO and the folks who are detained at their facility. I think oftentimes, and we see this in other contexts at Towards Justice where we're representing low-wage or immigrant workers, workers may not recognize the rights that they have. They may not know what their rights are. And so it's really important worker education to make sure that people know what their rights are so that they then have the opportunity to defend them.
You know, President Trump's vowed to deport somewhere between 2 and 3, it changes every day, but somewhere between 2 and 3 million undocumented immigrants. If you're able to achieve a victory in this suit, how might that impact how immigrants are treated when they're in custody right now? In other words, is there going to be a different attitude with a company like the GEO Group? Because it's almost like a wink and a nod. You have permission to do what you want to do. Are you already feeling a difference there with this administration?
Well, I think this administration's plans to more rapidly round up and deport more people who are living in this country, it really makes our litigation even more urgent to the extent that GEO is in fact engaged in forced labor at their detention facility in Aurora. We want to know that sooner so that we subject fewer people to those types of practices. And just to go back, the types of practices that our clients are challenging in this lawsuit. One is GEO's policy implemented in Aurora of requiring detainees to clean large areas within the facility, not just their personal cells or beds or areas, but communal eating quarters, communal bathrooms, showers, toilets, and all of that janitorial work is done under threat of solitary confinement. That is, if you don't want to or you for whatever reason refuse to work, you will be threatened with or placed in solitary confinement. Our clients allege that that's a clear violation of the forced labor provisions of the Trafficking Victims Protection Act.
I have a prediction, and that is that you're going to be very, very busy in the next 4 years trying to look out for the rights of these folks. But anyway, thanks for being out there. We appreciate that.
Thanks so much for your time.
Private prison company served with lawsuit over using detainees' labor. You know I'm going to say that again. Private prison companies served with lawsuit over using detainees' labor. Class action lawsuit brought by the detainees in New Mexico accuses CoreCivic and GEO Group of violating minimum wage laws. This story was done November 25th, 2018, and this is how it reads. When a New Mexico immigration detention facility needed people to cook for inmates and clean its halls, it found a solution already inside its wall. For 50 cents or less per hour, detainees such as Bar Emanuel Abi and Desmond Damby, who have since been granted political asylum, cooked meals for their fellow inmates and worked in the facility library. Their experience is not unique. For $1 a day, and sometimes less, migrants prepare meals, clean facilities, and do laundry at privately run immigration detention centers across the country. The practice has been compared to slave labor and has brought a pile of lawsuits to the doorsteps of the country's two biggest private prison companies, CoreCivic and GEO Group. which in 2017 had combined $4 billion in revenue. In a recently filed class action lawsuit, Abby Danby and one other man who fled Cameroon wage theft claims against Core Civic Cibola County Correctional Center in New Mexico. The fact that the company is able to obtain the labor it needs to function for the facility to function at vastly below market rates is part of its business model, Joseph Seller, an attorney at Cohen Mainstein, who is representing the plaintiff, told The Guardian. Both Core Civic and GEO Groups have said the pay is compliant with a voluntary work program mandated by the government, but attorneys said the labor is not voluntary because it needed to be paid for items such as toothpaste or to make phone calls to loved ones. I wouldn't call it voluntary, Seller said. They do this work because they need the income, which is meager, certainly to help pay for the sundries and various things like toothpaste they may need while they are confined and don't otherwise have. The New Mexico case was filed in the federal court in Maryland last week, and centers of the Core Civic alleged violations of minimum wage laws. We're looking into it in other places, Seller said. It regrettable appears to be a widespread phenomenon. In the past 4 years, other ongoing lawsuits about $1 per day have accused private prison companies of also violating laws that prohibit forced labor and unjust enrichment. In April, a class action lawsuit was filed against Core Civic for using forced labor at a facility in Georgia. A plaintiff from Guatemala, Wellen Hill Barrientos, said he had to work to pay for phone calls to his family, who he couldn't speak to without doing work for 50 cents per hour. In September 2017, Washington State filed suits against GEO Group for paying detainees $1 a day. Detainees at an Aurora, Colorado facility sued GEO Group for wage theft in 2014. This case, like the others, is still working through the courts. Amanda Gilchrist, a Core Civil sportswoman, said that the company could not comment on pending litigation, but said its work programs were completely voluntary and operated in full compliance with ICE standards. We set and deliver the same high standards of care, including 3 daily meals, access to health care, and other everyday living needs, regardless of whether the detainees participated in a voluntary work program, Gilchrist said in an email. Pablo Pez, a GEO Group spokesman, also said in a statement that the company complied with national government established standards for voluntary work. The wage rates associated with the federal mandated programs are stipulated under long established guidelines set by the United States Congress. Pez said, as a service provider to the federal government, GEO is required to abide by these federal mandate standards and congressionally established guidelines. Both companies contribute to Trump's presidential campaign and have benefited from his administration's harsh immigration policies, which includes reversing Obama's administration efforts to reduce federal government use of private prisons. The day after the 2016 presidential election, GEO Group stock price increased 21% and Core Civic increased 43%. In earnings calls, companies' leaders have predicted increased profits because of the increasing immigration arrests in the United States. The founding director of Northwestern University Deportation Research Clinic, Jacqueline Stevens, prompted the 2014 Colorado lawsuit through her reach of private prisons' voluntary work schemes. Stevens said these extraordinary low pay rates also impact local wages in other industries. The purpose of these laws isn't simply to protect the earning rights of people who are being exploited, but also the average wages of people in a particular community, Stevens said. That's why there are all sorts of rules and precedents that say that if employers hire people below that, even if it looks like someone is consenting, it is still unlawful. She said many strands of the U.S. law prevents companies from compelling people who haven't been convicted of crimes to work. define volunteer as doing work for no pay for humanitarian purposes, and protect local wages by prohibiting companies from paying people less than an agreed-to standard. Stevens said when you are able to hire people for $1 a day or less, you undercut the employment opportunities for everybody else. All right. Lot to take in on that, right? I know, man. I know. So what was stated was the fact that incarceration is big business. You wonder why so many people on the outside are having a hard time finding employment is because you can get way more. You can get you know what I'm saying? You can get a good paying job, if that's what you want to call good. But you have to be locked up to get it. And then if you do get locked up, you're only going to get 50 cents to $1 an hour. Right? But they in there with quality jobs that people on the outside can't get. And there's a lot of companies who fund their businesses through the private organization. And did you hear how that woman was sitting there making it sound all pleasant? Well, your workers will never be able to call off. They ain't got to worry about having a babysitter. What? What? Y'all hear that shit? They had to worry about them calling off. We take care of their food and medical. I mean, it made it sound like you was like, damn, like a brochure and shit. Like, wait a minute, maybe I want to go and do some shit like that. I can take care of my family. Not with 50 cents a motherfucking hour, you can't. Huh? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like when you look at this shit, it's kind of like, man, wait a minute, man, hold on. I understand business, right? I understand you make a business. Nobody makes a business not for profit. I get for that. You don't make a business just to have to say you got a business. It's about being able to make some profit so that you can, supply, things and needs and, wants and, all that good stuff, right? But at whose expense, right? So again, if the black corner on this internet is trying to get his people independent, trying to be woke, trying to be self-sufficient, and if it slowly seeps in and it's drying up some of that market, then I guess maybe all this shit about crossing the border got something to do with filling vacancies. Oh, I'm just not laughing at it, y'all. Not laughing at it. But maybe that's what that is. See. So I was reading the other day was talking about, well, I'm going to close, this is what the president said. President Trump said, I'm going to close the motherfucker, I'm going to permanently close this motherfucker. So if he permanently close it, and all them people, they say up to about, some say 3,000, some say 5,000, some say 8,000. We don't know, just like they don't know what Sentinel Island, which we'll probably talk about later on. You know what I mean, people. But somebody's looking at that as numbers that could be sufficient because, again, as I said, maximum, minimum, if they detain you, we got somewhere we can fill some vacancies. You understand? So, the lucrativeness in it, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I remember, got groups like, they call it what they call the GEO, the GEO group, right? We had the civil group, right? I knew about CCA. Remember when I did the video about hip hop? Broke that whole CCCA down. But these are some of its partners here, GEO and Civil Corps. These are the partners. You know what I'm saying? So who's the commodity? If we're gonna make this country great again, then I guess that if the country was great when our ancestors was in that position, and so if cotton ain't going to be the crop, then maybe it's the manufacturing, because they always say this country don't build anything. It do build. It's just not that you don't get to build it. It's what's inside. Because remember the one guy said, he said, well, we is telling China about how they doing it. So we getting them to stop, but then here we picking up because we got another avenue to do it in. So, you know what I'm saying? This shit it's man, when you peel this onion and start looking at it, you start realizing, man, everything ain't glitter, ain't gold, right? So I just brought that information because, again, not so much about, I care about the detainees. What I'm talking about is, it was a matter of fact, there was a stipulation in that. Like, if you are a foreigner under the anti-slavery, right, that applies to you. But what about us? You know what I'm saying? Did y'all catch that? It was like, okay, you can, what about us here? That don't apply to us? That don't apply to motherfuckers that's foreign and get caught up in detainees? What about, see, because again, the way to make this motherfucker great is got to put the ones again who you can't shoot a jump shot, right? You can't shoot a jump shot. You can't run a touchdown, right? You can't dance. You can't bojangle, right? You can't do none of that. And, you know, like, again, rooting to the tootin' like a pig. I need to cut something of you and make some money off you. And even when you're dead, I'm still going to use your body. You get what I'm saying? So I'm just saying, I want to bring that because, again, I thought it was kind of interesting because, again, I was looking at, okay, I had been talking about that border. And I was like, man, these motherfuckers came out of no motherfucking way. But maybe this is somebody's plan. There's a, you know, catch-22. It looks one way, but it's cutting another way. Because, again, we're not seeing all the people who are being, you know, caught up and being detained and being in detention and all that other stuff. And so maybe that might be a tunnel for it. So, okay, there you go. All right, moving on. Matter of fact, before I move on, let me see who all out here in the audience. Let me see who out here. You know, I got to get some acknowledgement to y'all at the 115 mark. I am. What's up, I am? Vegas in the building. What's good? Natural Nature, peace to you as well. Natural Nature says, how is it that they come to America and impoverish everyone to claim everyone is an issue? Good question. Asking the wrong person, though. What's good with you, though, bro? And then Mr. Spencer 60620 says, R.I.P. Miss Hooker. He remembered. She shamed me. Oh, she did? By bragging about she wasn't on medication at 98 and I was on 2 medications at 45. Twice your age, right? She twice your age and 8, right? When she told you that it was on no medication. Well, you know, it just kind of depends, man. I put it like this. So you about 45. So you taste hamburger. Okay, let's just say, the food then didn't have all the shit that it got now. Let's say all this added preservatives and GMO shit and all this bullshit they got up in there, right? A lot of times they, pumping the chicken up with some shit and water and all that shit. It don't really be all what it is. So based on, let's say, the age, if you said that, I don't know what year that was, if that was just recently, she was 98, they say she was 103, so 5 years ago, so it's about 2013 when you talking about, okay. So based on you, right, you on the transitional, you came through when it was transitional, you got to eat some of that stuff when it wasn't all saturated with this new shit. So it's kind of like back in the day. I'll give you an example. Remember back in the day, you be sleeping shit, and mama. Now I know some of you Muslims and you Moors and shit. You own that fucking bacon, but I got a story for your ass. You smell that motherfucking mom cooking that motherfucking bacon, that ham. Your ass be sleep. It will wake you up out your sleep. That's how it was. Today, that nigga cook some pig. You ain't know the motherfucker cook. You wake up there and nigga, you like, damn. Dad say Mr. Bro, am I eating pig? I didn't say that. I'm just saying, you know what I'm talking about. Can't even smell the motherfucker because he either too healthy, that nigga working out their bellies and shit, he too healthy, or that nigga just pumped up with other bullshit, right? The pig kind of like he a rat anyway, right? He looked like a rat. Back in the day, that nigga was fat and sloppy. That fat smelled good when you roasted. Matter of fact, read that Bible talking about the going up in the nostrils of God, like, give me a piece of that shit, boy. So based on where she came from, their shit was natural. So yeah, of course they didn't need all that medication because they was eating that natural good shit. None of that additives, preserved. That shit was fresh. That's we gonna be the ones getting all kind of cancers and all that bullshit. We gonna get that because we've been consuming that shit when they weren't. So to be on medication is kind of the prescription because, again, that too cuts in a way that they don't kill you all. I just gonna make you drag your ass out of here. But at the same time, like a cab, well, I know y'all Uber and shit, but back in the day, cab. Then you get a cab and shit, the meter keep running and shit, right? And so you constantly paying, right? So that's what they're gonna make you pay out because you're on medication, right? Just like they could cure AIDS. They could cure it. They just broke this shit up in several different ways, and then you pay for each one, and you say, well, I can live with AIDS. But shit, you got the cure, but you paying. You're going to keep paying. So as long as it's making money, then that's business. So, yeah, I'm just taking what you said. Yeah, she said that because she came off some of that, someone was natural. They was more natural. Matter of fact, today you're talking about you got to go to the store to get organic when it was just natural then, right? So, yeah. She ain't shame you. This was the difference between then and now. But I want to thank everybody y'all up in here, man. I appreciate it. Hit that like button or hit that dislike. Again, comment, say I ain't shit. Whatever you got to do, give me something. Give me something now. Let me hold something, right? Let me hold something. So anyway, let's get on back with the show. Thank y'all for commenting out there. I got in here. What's my next one? So, okay, so matter of fact, this is breaking news. This here happened as before I was starting the show. I don't know if y'all heard this or not. And but I did talk about this story the other day though, right? Remember that story I did the other day when that senator running for Mississippi? And remember what she talked about, being in the front row. Well, just before the show came on, I had caught some breaking news about something like that, and let me show it to y'all and sit back for a second, and I'll come right back.
Meanwhile, just hours before President Trump is due to attend a rally in Mississippi, several nooses have been found hanging from the trees at the Mississippi state capitol. Several signs containing hate speech were also found. Police have since removed the nooses and the signs and are reviewing CCTV to find out who put them there. The discovery was made on Monday morning, a day before a Senate runoff between Republican Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith and Democrat Mike Espai, who is African American.
Yeah, Scott, Jackson police found the 41-year-old in a car outside of his barbershop on Bullard Street. Authorities say they're looking for 4 men who were wearing clown masks.
Yet I'm gonna come there after. There's something I'm gonna tie in with what we're talking about. So again, as I was talking about, they found about 7 nooses at the Mississippi Capitol, as in reference to, again, there's a runoff between the African American, I can't think of the name to come, that dude that is running against her, against that Cindy Hines, right? And again, you know, as much as everybody wants to say certain things has gone away, sometimes they keep letting you see that it ain't as far away as you think it is, and it just gives a reminder. And it being in the state of Mississippi, you know, Mississippi, I think it was Mississippi, Arizona, there might be one more. Remember, and matter of fact, I think it was John McCain he was holding out on that too. They wasn't going to recognize Martin Luther King holiday. I don't even know if still Mississippi has, right? Could be. I could be misquoting on that, but I remember that it was the last holdout, right? So, you know, they hold on to their tradition, and you know what I'm saying? And, you know, don't they got Hang a Nigga, Mississippi? Don't they even got a place called Hang a Nigga, Mississippi? So again, I guess they want to change the new emblem is the noose and shit. So I guess they making a quiet, you know, symbol, right? Like I said, symbol is even greater than a picture. A picture is 1,000 words. A symbol is uncalculable. So I guess what they're saying to all those who would be participating in them elections, that you see this here, don't forget. So you go ahead and try to put him up in there. There's no, okay. So again, the fear tactics and this aspect of always trying to intimidate, but they want us to believe that things have changed from where it was. And when we just see this been the same old, just the same old suit, just reheated, right? So again, that story had broke. those you might see later on, but again, you see it here first. Anytime you come over here, you're going to see what most people are going to finally get to. So when you go around these other channels and you go, oh, I already heard that already. I'm up on that already because we own it on day one, right? So why are we talking about this? Why I'm talking about Mississippi? Did y'all hear about this story here? This is in Mississippi. Matter of fact, let me see if I got two parts to this. No, I'm gonna. Okay, okay. So what this is? Check this story out, cause this kind of don't make no sense either, right? But you know, again, as we talked about incarceration and needing workers, right? Well, you do this shit, I guess that's where you're trying to go. So let's see what happens here.
Yeah, Scott, Jackson police found the 41-year-old in a car outside of his barbershop on Bullard Street. Authorities say they're looking for 4 men who were wearing clown masks.
It says 76 homicide this year.
This time, Jackson police say the gunmen were wearing clown masks.
Witness reported that a black sedan drove up and 4 individuals got out of the car with clown masks on and fired into the passenger side of this vehicle, striking the victim.
41-year-old Marcus Hamlin owned Cut City Barbershop on Bullard Street. He was found dead in a car around 1 on Sunday afternoon. The storefront was damaged while his car was being towed away. JPD talked with grieving family members.
They are, of course, in shock to hear the news.
Urging the public to help. He says his officers make more progress when the community offers up tips.
These violent criminals are on the streets. If you don't speak out, you just may be a victim.
Okay, so that was in Jackson, Mississippi, right? But some, I guess we don't know who they were because they had on clown masks, right? And gunned up a brother that owned the barbershop. Maybe, you know, again, you know how it is. You know, some shit done going down, and you got it. See that heavy Chevy though, right? The heavy Chevy, motherfucker, hee-haw ass nigga down there, made motherfucker go through the damn motherfucker through the store and shit, right? So again, you know, again, yes, we be having beefs and misunderstandings and, you know, gunplay getting involved. But again, look how that's cutting. Okay, you end up doing what you're doing. And as we just looked at earlier about how this, you know, incarceration system is looking for motherfuckers. And you actually volunteering. You trying to give a motherfucker 40 years of your life. 25 to 30 to 40 years. Now, again, yes, some things are made when you have to take care of business. I get it. But man, you understand? Do we understand this? That again, proclamation, what they call it, Emancipation Proclamation was nothing but a goddamn announcement. So we ain't too much from where we've been. And the trick bag is you allow me to get you in this situation, then it's modern day. You back in this shit, gonna be in here 3 hots in a cot with a fat bologna sandwich, right? Making some motherfucking Kia furniture. On what? Was it, again, I know this story, I'm just taking this as an example, but we can go anywhere around this bubble. We can take any place. Any good, you know what I'm saying, and find the same scenario, and what's gonna happen is a 2-for-1 deal all day. You know, my time I take that 2-for-1 all day. Shit, if you give me, give me 2 pack of them cookies right there for $1, right? Give me that shit, and they don't take that shit, right? And motherfuckers just offering their ass right to it and not thinking. You know what I'm saying? They're not thinking, and so they're just doing all kind of shit, and so. It's like, come on, man. When we gonna wake up to this? And again, then I already told you the mantra to make this motherfucker great again. You know where you gotta go. So let's not quit playing. And the Tulsa, Oklahoma was a reminder about all those who have the grandiose idea. Again, I'm not a pessimistic and telling you can't. I'm just telling you, history always a reminder to show you certain things, and the only way some of that shit changes is other changes have to take place and manifest. So anyway, we're gonna move on. What else I got in here? Well, let's do this. Let me give a quick interlude to my next one. Just to break this. I ain't gonna play it all the way through. Just the interlude, y'all. Just don't run. I'm playing this is just an interlude. Now, we're going to break some of that off while we was at. You got to get off of that. It is what it is, right? Now, I don't know if you heard what happened today. You know how, and again, this Black Corner, you got all kind of different people talking about all different types of things. You have some who expertise that talk about going back to Egypt and all that good stuff, and that's great. We're supposed to know that kind of stuff, right? That's part of some of our history, even though that's way distant. But, you know, but something came up today, right? You know, Mr. Blow Your Mind, I be on it, boy. You know what I'm saying? I be on the watchtower. I be like, oh, really? So check this out. Let me show you this, and then afterwards I come back.
We did continue the work. And then we found the side chamber. It was sealed with mud bricks. So we did open it. We found almost 2 intact wooden coffins in perfect condition of preservation with flowers in the top of them. Then we opened them. We found that the mummies in perfect condition of preservation.
Mummified woman dating back 3,000 years unveiled in Egypt. You know I'm going to say that again. Mummified woman dating back 3,000 years unveiled in Egypt. Mummified inside sarcophagus in Luxor tombs that also contain statues and figurines. This story was done November 25th, 2018. And this is how it reads. A well-preserved mummy of a woman inside a previously unopened coffin dating back more than 3,000 years has been unveiled in the southern Egyptian city of Luxor. The sarcophagus was one of the 2 found earlier this month by a French-led mission in the Al Asif necropolis of the western bank of the Niles. The first one had been opened earlier and examined by officials, but Saturday's unveiling was the first time authorities had opened a previously unopened sarcophagus before international media. One of the 2 contained the well-preserved mummified remains of a woman named Thuya, the Antiquities Ministry said in a statement, but ministry spokeswoman Naveen Apaleta said work was continued to definitely identify the name of the mummy. One sarcophagus was Rishti style, which dates back to the 17th dynasty, while the other sarcophagus was from the 18th dynasty. The Minister of Antiquities, Kal al-Anani, said the two tombs were present with their mummies inside. The 18th dynasty dates back to the 13th century BC, a period noted for some of the most well-known pharaohs, including Tutankhamun and Ramesses II. Located between the royal tombs at the Valley of the Queens and the Valleys of the Kings, the Al-Asaf necropolis is the burial site of the nobles and senior officials close to the pharaohs. Among the finds in the tomb was sarcophagi, statues, and some thousand funerary figurines called Yoshebits, made of wood, fierces, and clay. The tomb belonged to Thal If, the mummification superior at the temple of Mut in Karnak. According to the ministry, the tomb, which also contained mummies, skeletons, and skulls, date back to the Middle Kingdom almost 4,000 years ago, but was reused during the late period. Rubble 300 meters deep was removed over 5 months to uncover the tomb, which contained colored ceilings with painting depicting the owner and his family. Egypt has revealed over a dozen ancient discoveries since the beginning of this year. The country hopes these discoveries will brighten its image abroad and revive interest among travelers who once flocked to its famed pharaonic and the pyramids, but who have shunned the country since its 2011 political uprising.
Well, the festival of Eid al-Fitr marks the end of Ramadan in northwest China's Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. Over 20 million Muslims are celebrating the festival at over 24,000 mosques. In the capital city of Urumqi, over 10,000 gathered in one mosque for morning prayer. CCTV's Wu Guoshu was there.
Latecomers can only stay outside. At 7:30 in the morning, Muslims began to gather at this 120-year-old Yanghang Mosque in Urumqi for the prayers of the Eid al-Fitr.
This is one of the most important mosques in Urumqi for big congregations. According to customs, followers should have taken a shower, put on new clothes or the best available before coming to this prayer of the Eid. And there are so many followers today that many have to sit outside of the mosque yard.
The prayer lasted about half an hour. There are young men, fathers and sons, there are grandfathers. Local staff said there are an estimated 11,000 people here for this prayer. The constant chantings can be heard all around the immediate area. After the prayer, they will hurry home to enjoy the Eid al-Fitr festival with their families.
I'm happy. It's our festival these days. I'm happy to have come to this prayer.
I've prepared for the festival. We cleaned the house and bought good food and new clothes.
Every day during Ramadan, Muslims fast from dawn to dusk. That's over 17 hours here in Xinjiang. And it was very challenging for some.
Ramadan was not easy for me. It was really hot too, but now it has finally ended.
Free porridge, various fruit and drinks are available at the mosque's dining room. So some choose to break the fast at the mosque, together with their friends and neighbors. It's a 3-day holiday here in Xinjiang. It goes on until Monday. And with the hot weather forecast for the region, it's going to be a very relaxing weekend.
经过微博或者是互联网的这个有意识的去挑起我们这个各处兄弟的不团结，使这个问题更加复杂化、更加矛盾化。
A lot of the international Islamophobia that we see in Europe or the US comes also into the Chinese internet. But then there are also more domestic factors in terms of people perceiving that the Chinese government has been too accommodating towards Muslims and people in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. And of course the government's anti-terror campaign. They've launched a people's war and a strike hard campaign against terrorism. And some of the rhetoric in that has probably also fueled the rising Islamophobia.
I think 把它用到不好的地方，肯定都是有一些偏执的东西所在。我不抵触它，但是我也不会很接受它吧。
以前为什么喜欢开始建祥贤那种，连的皇帝要建祥贤，就是王子他们过来吵闹嘛，所以这种事情不是现在才有，以前都有了，是不是？
伊斯兰教我不太了解，然后我是听别人说的，就是说他就是这个教比较就是极端啥的。
确实感到很吃惊，对，但是呢，仔细想，也不怪他们，因为他们不太了解伊斯兰，不太了解我们当地的贵汉的这个团结的融洽度， 又加上这个媒体的这个部分媒体的误导，特别现在的这个互联网的对于误导，使他们对伊斯兰教有误解。
Ayşin yo'rgan ekan ismi deb oldi. Lekin u yengam menga degan vaqtida shu Darultam qolib ketdi deb shunda degan. Debdikan. Darultam degan bolalar deb shu yaqinimizga shunda degan.
This is a kindergarten for Uyghurs, an ethnic minority from Xinjiang in China's far northwest. Dorms house toddlers behind barbed wire and surveillance cameras, including Abdurrahman, Adila, Mohammed, and Abdullah. Their mother, Mary Pet, hasn't seen them for over a year.
Çünkü balalarımı özüm kata koyacaktım. Özüm terbiyeleştim. Hakikaten şu ben oylasam. Şu boğaçını oylasam. Könglemdeki yerim bütün günde sıkılıp yıkılamayken günüm yok.
Mary Pet lives in exile with a remaining child, thousands of miles away in Turkey. One of many Uyghur parents parted from their kids amid a sweeping crackdown. In recent years, China has detained an estimated 1 million Muslims in indoctrination camps. Others have fled. The children they leave behind are forced into orphanages and boarding schools, where they're banned from speaking their native tongue.
Bütünlüğü şu hanzu, çiki, kiyimlerden başlayıp, yemek içmeklerden başlayıp, hemmisini şu hanzu'nunki örp adını bütünlüğü sındırıp ekilip.
The Associated Press has found that since the beginning of last year, Xinjiang has been building or expanding nearly 4 dozen orphanages, enough to house 5,000 children. Uyghur parents say the orphanages are just one part of a vast campaign to assimilate their children.
Yıllap bana nispeten 5 yıldan bu yan yüzününki hiçbir prezidentinin avazını anlap bakamazlık. Öldürülüştü mü vahşi kabihlik, yüzü hayat durup.
Abdurrahim Emin is a poet whose work angered the authorities. He fled to Turkey in 2014, leaving his family behind. A year later, Emin heard his wife was sentenced to 7 years in prison after he sent her a gift of olive oil. Visitors from Xinjiang said 2 of his children were struck and killed by a police cruiser, that they knew nothing about another 2, and that his eldest daughter was sent to a boarding school. The Associated Press worked with Emin to track down the location of his daughter's school. Satellite imagery shows that it was built in the past 6 years. 5 or 6 dormitories sit behind barbed wire. Uyghurs speak a Turkic language, but a sign at the front gate tells students to speak only Mandarin on campus. It's only one of many boarding schools in town, all covered with propaganda, cameras, and anti-vehicle barricades. The government says it wants to educate and lift Uyghurs out of poverty.
Uyghurs view the education system as one of the primary threats to their future as a society. Children are taught to respect their teachers more than their parents. So if their parents, teach them about Islam, the students, children might question them and say, this is backward, this is extremist.
For decades, ethnic tensions have simmered between Uyghurs and China's Han majority. Tensions boiled over in a July 2009 riot, leaving hundreds dead in Xinjiang's capital. In response, the government poured billions of dollars into strict security measures, turning Xinjiang into perhaps the most surveilled region on Earth.
新疆实施的一系列的政策措施，旨在促稳定、促发展、促团结、促民生，同时依法打击民族分裂和暴恐犯罪活动。
For parents like Abdurrahim and Mary Pet, the pain of their missing children is something they live with every day.
Allah Teala nasip olup eğer de şu balalarım bilen uçraştıysa inşallah onu hazır bir işe kızgap bilen ifadalep boğulup olmaydı.
1 million Chinese people move into Muslim homes to report on Islamic patriotic beliefs. People move into Muslim homes to report on Islamic or unpatriotic beliefs. You know I'm going to say that again. 1 million Chinese people move into Muslim homes to report on Islamic or unpatriotic beliefs. Had a Uyghur host just greeted a neighbor in Arabic with the words of Assalamu alaikum, that would need to go into the notebook, says Dr. Darren Biles. This story was done November 24th, 2018. And this is how it reads. Uninvited, more than 1 million Han Chinese people have reportedly moved into the homes of Uyghur Muslim families to report on whether they display Islamic or unpatriotic beliefs. Sent to homes in Yangying or Yixing province by the Chinese government, Americans anthropologist Darren Biles said they were tasked with watching for signs that their host attachments to Islam might be extreme. The informants, who describe themselves as relatives of the families they are staying with, are said to have received specific instructions on how to get them to let their guards down. As devout Muslims would refuse cigarettes and alcohol, this is seen as one way of finding out whether they were extreme. Had a Uyghur host just greeted a neighbor in Arabic with the words of Assalamu alaikum, that would need to go into the notebook, said Dr. Biles in research published by Asia Society Center on U.S.-China Relations. Was that a copy of the Quran in their home? Was anyone praying on Friday or fasting during Ramadan? Was a little sister's dress too long or a little brother's beard irregular? As many as million Uyghurs are thought to have been rounded up, placed in re-education centers, and what China claims is a clampdown on religious extremism. Those who have spent time in them have, however, claimed that they were forced to undergo an intensive indoctrination program, urged to renounce Islam and instead heap praise on the Chinese Communist Party. One former inmate claimed Muslim inmates were forced to eat pork and drink alcohol. Dr. Bile said more than 1 million Chinese civilians who referred to themselves as relatives were assigned to the homes of Muslims for a series of week-long stays in 2017. His claim appeared to be confirmed in the Communist Party official newspaper, The People's Daily, which reported that more than 1.1 million people paired up with 1.69 million ethnic minority citizens in China by the end of September this year. They often focus on families of those who have been detained in the re-education centers. China was also said to be trying to prevent people from fasting during Ramadan in Yixing last year. According to World Uyghur Congress, officials in the region ordered all restaurants to remain open, and a series of measures were put in place seemingly designed to prevent people observing the holy month. Chinese authorities have also been accused of putting Uyghur children and those from the other ethnic minority groups into state-run orphanages across the western Xinjiang region, even if their parents were not dead, as some 1 million adults and their families were sent to internment camps. The REACT, or the Exile World Uyghur Congress, has also claimed officials in Xinjiang warned them that they must surrender religious items such as the Quran or face hard punishment. All right, now so some of y'all broke out of here. You know why you broke out of here? Because you don't see no reason for you to know this. Well, let me tell you something. See, vision, peripheral vision. One must have peripheral vision if you want to be good at, especially like sports. You got peripheral vision. Spirituality, they call them prophets, right? Am I telling you that? No, I'm just telling you. So what I'm saying is, the reason why I brought this story is because, okay, here is China with its implementing with the Muslims. It seems like there's a lot of Muslims that done got up in China, right? And so what they're doing is they cracking down. They taking people's children, putting them in orphanage, right? Making it where they actually taking people. Now, did you hear this? They're taking 1 million Chinese. Imagine you lived in China. They gonna just, what was that show that came on? Was swapping wives, but they ain't gonna swap them, but they just gonna put them up in your crib. And this motherfucker is there just to observe you to see if you're extreme. They gonna do shit like, we gonna eat some pork, and if your ass be like, don't eat pork, guess what? He gonna put you in the book. And if you're getting in the book, then you're gonna get punished for the shit, right? So, well, Mr. Blackman, what the fuck does that got to do with us? Wait a minute, ain't there black Muslims in this mug? That's in this country. What about on the continent? Damn, I've been talking about that $140 billion and that $60 billion. So guess what? Probably coming down the pipe. You know there's a lot of Muslims in the continent. And you got the Chinese buying it up. Don't you see the connect now? Oh, no, you can't see that. And those who ran up out of here, if you should come back, that's what you missed. And if you didn't, well, that's on you. But you can't say if and when I'll be able to say, remember when you know how I do it, I go back. Remember that video I told y'all about? Remember I told you then? Okay, so that's what I'm telling you now. That's a precursor to some other shit that's going to come down the line, because if they're doing it in their country, with those that seem like, I don't understand all this migration of all these other people that seem that shouldn't be there anywhere, which are like Indians and stuff, right? Put all them up in China anyway. So again, as they expand and they getting, remember I showed you about Jamaica, they're doing a lot of stuff in the Caribbean, right? Matter of fact, that's what all that stuff in Haiti is about that Petro-Carib deal. Same thing that happened up, I think it was in Pakistan, where they do the bomb because of that Chinese consulate, because of that same thing. They mugs is consolidated, they monopolizing, right? And so after a while, what's going to end up happening? Motherfuckers start putting them Chinese rules and laws. And guess what? A lot of these places are Muslim. We got a lot of Muslims in there. And so they're going to start implementing this shit. And okay. I'm just showing you the bridge. I gave you the bridge. I gave you, laid down the foundation about shit that's going over there. And then somebody goes, oh, this shit is boring. Okay. But see, you are local. You in the fish bowl. You need to get in the bigger aquarium. You need to look at shit. See, it's okay. Again, I'm for blackness too. But let me don't get this twisted now. Yeah. But I said peripheral vision. You don't know peripheral vision, look it up. You gotta be able to see a lot of shit. What they say, watch your 12, your 3, your 6, and your 9. So y'all just looking at your 12. Some of you just looking at your 3. Shit, what about your 9 and your 6? Some of you looking at your 3 and looking at your 6, but not looking at your 9 and the 12. Some of you looking at the 6 and the 9, not the 12 and the 3. You know what I'm saying? 360 this shit, right? So I'm just saying, when I see shit over here, I say, well, that shit may come here, right? And I mean here specifically, I'm just saying, when they're dealing with our people, if they doing that, and again, like they doing on the continent, you know they're going to implement that. You know it. So, hopefully, again. Well, anyway, let's move on. I'm laying it down, that's all. All right, so let's go. Why are we talking about India, right? It's because the reason I got matter of fact, let's see where I'm at. Closing on I'm at the 2 hour mark, so I'm right on time. Right on time. You see, I've been trying to cut it down, not because I just do it because it's necessary, right? Now, you know that story I did already when I talked about that John Cho, right? Went over to the Andaman Nicobar's Island, right? What they call Sentinelese Island. And so they've been trying to figure out how to get the body, right? Again, some of the stories that have been coming out, they talk about this. First they say, well, they seen him when they grabbed him by the rope, and then took him and they burned him. Then some say they took him and then they buried him. Some say, you know what I'm saying? It's different conflicting stories as to what transpired. But they know for a fact maybe he's dead. And I said, okay, right, he dead. Okay, maybe he dead, right? Y'all seen that movie King Kong? Y'all seen that latest, not the old one. I ain't talking about the old one. I'm talking about the new one, right? Remember when they went up in that place and they had that, where they had the engravings of on there, and then they went in there and there was the natives in there and they had them, and then all of a sudden a white man came out and shit that he was kind of like calling for them, and that saved their bacon. Is that what they think gonna happen here? Is that what they thinking? They think he gonna come out? I told you, Jesus, it worked. That was crazy shit. How you gonna go in there with damn Bible English and then you know what the hell they speaking? But anyway, so now it's about trying to retrieve the body. Right? They're trying to retrieve the body. And so they're trying to find a way within the confines of the game of being restricted and not upsetting the indigenous, right? The native, the indigenous, right? Well, how you going to do that? Because you got to go in there. And if you go in there, they not going for that. So should they chalk it to the game, right? And do like what they did, what's that in that military? What is that? I don't know which branch of the military it is. The unknown soldier, right? You gonna have to get the tomb of the unknown soldier and just build a shrine there. You know what I'm saying? Chalk it to the game. Because if you go in there, you're gonna disturb. Don't disturb. Oh, I ain't gonna sing that song, but don't disturb this groove, right? And so, how you go in there? How this supposed to work? Well, according to them, they got somebody who supposedly have gone and talked with them. So, okay, all right, you look at this shit. I'll let you see it, and I'll come back.
Authorities in India are working to recover the body of an American killed on a remote island. He reportedly intended to convert the native population. Gwen Baumgardner has the story from London.
American John Allen Chow was killed earlier this month after reportedly paying fishermen to smuggle him onto a remote Indian island where he planned to preach Christianity. His body remains in the Bay of Bengal because Indian law effectively forbids outsiders from entering the area. The 26-year-old Washington state native wanted to preach to the islanders, who are described as one of the most violent tribes in the world.
He would have known before, like he had talked to people that they are aggressive.
In journal entries, Chow acknowledged the potential risks, writing, "I don't want to die." Fishermen say tribesmen killed Chow with bows and arrows when he arrived on the island and dragged his body along the beach and buried it in the sand. North Sentinel Island is greatly untouched by the modern world, so removing Chow's body could expose the tribe to a number of diseases. Authorities are also concerned those sent to retrieve Chow's remains would likely face the same violence he did. Gwen Baumgardner, CBS News, London.
Professor Triloknath Pandit is legendary. He is the first anthropologist who actually made physical contact with the Sentinelese of North Sentinel Island. This after years of hard work, finally in 1991. Professor Pandit, thank you so much for joining us and your thoughts on the death of John Allen Chow.
I am personally shocked and feel sad at the tragedy of a young man getting killed anywhere in the world. This one particularly because, but such a thing happening is quite possible under the circumstance.
Indeed, very unfortunate what happened. But could you describe to us your first encounter, your actual contact with the Sentinelese in 1991?
But 91, what happened for the first time, the North Sentinel men and women received gifts from our hands, gifts of coconut, mostly coconut. But we were standing in shallow waters near the beach, but we were not invited or we were not encouraged to go to come ashore.
I believe I read somewhere that one of the Sentinelese actually tried to attack you with a knife.
As we were giving these gifts, at one point I was left in a corner, some distance from my party members, colleagues. One boy of North Central who was standing at a distance from me, they watched me whether I had any intention of coming ashore. I guess so. They were talking in their own language, which we didn't obviously understand. At one point, the boy took out his knife, open knife, and threatened me that if you, making a round movement of the knife as if he was going to cut me out if I came ashore. At that point, I called for the boat and I was picked up and I left. This, even when they were receiving the coconuts in a friendly way, they were not at that point willing to let us come ashore. That limit was there.
Professor, what are your thoughts on the restricted area permit and the relaxation of it for 29 islands, including North Sentinel?
We are a highly privileged nation to have such people living in our country, and we should not take any measures to harm their interests.
So do you think that John's body should be allowed to be where it is right now? Just let it go.
I wouldn't say anything like that for the simple reason, you see, the family of John must be feeling bad enough. It is a tragic incident. The government, if it is possible, they should devise ways and means, police, etc., without causing any violence on either side. Try to help them, but if it is not possible, let it be. More violence cannot be generated on this basis, should not be generated on this incident.
Okay, so I do have to extra story for this. So I'm going to pull that up because that was just to let you see that. Now, again, that individual there supposedly has been on the island and has exchanged, as he said, coconuts, right? But it wasn't a long encounter, right? It was just enough to be like, all right, you're welcome done you a little bit too much. And he pull a knife out like, man, I'm about to stick you, man. You better move, right? So it's a situation where you invading their square. And I guess everybody, again, isn't that what this whole thing about? Right to protect yourself, right? So it looks like the dilemma is, I mean, you could go in there with force, right? You upset everybody. Or based on how you took your ass up in there, again, you're just gonna have to do the unsung, what's it called? The tomb, the unknown tomb. You may just gonna have to create the tomb, man. I mean, he gone. Only thing you got left, I know, yeah, you want to retrieve the body, but you offsetting the balance and you breaking. I understand you want the body, but that situation, and you could call something that'd be catastrophic, right? Well, I guess it just depends on what side of the coin you're at. Some people like, I heard some people like, fuck that, we're gonna go in there, we gotta get John. John, he's a good guy. He was a Christian guy, for the Bible. It was just these, as he said, the last vestiges of what Satan was. Well, you got that first warning. You should have took your ass and kept the fuck on moving. Because if you read the story, right, that's what what happened, right? He got out there, and the motherfuckers chased his ass, and got back on the boat, and he gonna come back again. He gonna talk to God. God gave you the warning. God told you, hey, you see them crazy motherfuckers? And, hypothetically, them crazy motherfuckers right there, you didn't see they chasing you? Matter of fact, you should have read that part in the Bible. I can't think off top, though, but those who might know, I think it's in, Proverbs? It's in, where it says, when Satan told Jesus, why don't you hurl yourself down from this cliff and I hit a rock? And what did Jesus say? Right? Go look it up. I don't know off the back of my head, but I know that's exactly what it said. Those who know the Bible, you know what I'm talking about. When remember Jesus and devils on top of the battlement, and Jesus said, well, if you're a son of God, why don't you hurl yourself off here and let the angels will come and school? Well, that's what he did. He put that shit to the test. He put God to the test. Come on, man. Let's keep that shit 100. He put God to the test, but God gave you the sign. When they chased your ass the first time, you probably be like, fuck that shit. I don't know how I'm going to convert. I don't know how. But you know what it is? You'll believe a lot of that shit in history, right? Let's get it right. You'll believe a lot of that shit that was written in history when they told you that when Christopher Columbus and them came on there, and then the motherfucker. It's the same shit. I bet you it was the same shit. Motherfucker, see, you don't look like me. I'm just supposed to be just giving you a hammock and a cot and sitting down and give you smoking my weed and shit, and then give you some of my ladies and shit. I don't know you. I don't know who the fuck you is from Adam. And you just supposed to come up in here and everything supposed to be good. No. So, but that's the way they wrote it. So, you know how they tell you that the disease, maybe disease was first and then they was able to move in. Maybe that was it. But poetic prose, he got the right in the way so that it become that he was gentle. He wasn't just no straight barbaric. He wasn't a Vandal. He wasn't a Viking. He was civilized. I get fuck out of here with that bullshit, right? So that's what we kind of seeing. We're seeing it live, 2018 version of you coming in, trying to be, cool with the natives, and he looking at that shit like, look, motherfucker, I don't know you, right? Like sometimes they write about in Africa, they talk about when they seen the white man, they said he was like an angel or something like a god, and that was they kneel to him, all that Montezuma shit. Right. Those motherfuckers in that scene, you they know the fuck they doing the same shit. But again, you got to know what's over there. You got agenda for what you're going over there for. Just like he did. You're using the Bible Again, we don't make light and fun of somebody getting killed, because again, I don't know if it's real or not. I'm just, look, don't hate me, y'all. Don't hate me. I'm just going to tell like a T.I. is. I don't know, because I ain't seen nobody. I hear stories, you know what I'm saying? Once upon a time, it was Santa Claus in the North Pole, and he had a reindeer named Rudolph, and he went across the world delivering toys to all the boys and girls. And you a kid, you believe that shit. Until you get grown up, you start realizing, ain't no goddamn Santa Claus. That's how this shit sounding. Again, don't be mad at me. I'm just saying. And chill. Now, I understand they say they're going to get the body, but again, you know, one perspective of it going to be like, okay, the way you see it, fuck that shit. We got to hit John. And you, okay, I get that. That's family. I get it. But the other side is like, hey, you motherfucker lie about a lot of shit, man. You lie about a lot of shit, man. How we know this ain't no ploy? How we know this ain't no scheme? How we know that? Because see, now the story of the fella said, an Indian said, oh, I've been there. I thought nobody never been over there. Now he talking about he was over there. Not, all right? I ain't gonna let no more. I'm gonna leave that shit alone. We just gonna wait it out. Because, see, already, if you got him there, if some all of a sudden get disease, they're going to say, well, it came on John. Right? They didn't get the island. Can't prosecute. I understand you got to get the body. It's a catch 44. Now 22, it's double that shit, because that shit has got cut in all kind of ways. But, again, you know what I'm saying? To be continued, right? You know I'm gonna be up on it. So to be continued. We'll see. And you know, it is what it is. So let me look and see who I got in all this before I get up out of here. I say, oh man, it piled up in here on me, huh? I went down to when I put the Muslims in here to now everybody come up in here. Okay, let's get some like, oh, no audio? Still no audio, Angela? Okay, audio. Okay, yeah, that's because I had took that stuff. But actually, I do got one more. There's one more because I didn't play the actual story of that. So hold on, let me do this. Let me do this first because I didn't give y'all the actual story that they put out on that today. So let me play that, and then I'll do. All right, so let's see. Play that for y'all, and here's the story of today of that situation. Police face off with tribe and missionary killing on remote Indian. Hold on. Play it right now. What you doing? I'll do it again. All right, here we go. Police face off with tribe and missionary killing on remote Indian island. You know I'm going to say that again. Police face off with tribe and missionary killing on remote Indian island. This story was done November 26, 2018, and this is how it reads. Port Blair, India. Indian officers had a nervous long-distance face-off with the tribe who killed an American missionary in their latest bid to locate his body on a remote island, police said Sunday, November 25th. The police team, who took a boat just off Indian on North Centio Island on Saturday, spotted men from the Sentinelese tribe on the beach where John Allen Cho was last seen. The region's police chief, Dipendra Pathik, told AFP. Using binoculars, officers in a police boat about 400 meters from the shore saw the men armed with bow and arrows, the weapons reportedly used by the isolated tribe to kill Choi as he shouted Christian phrases at them. They stared at us and we were looking at them, said Pathik. The boat withdrew to avoid any chance of confrontation. Police are taking painstaking efforts to avoid any disruption to the Sentinelese, a pre-Neolithic tribe whose island is off limits to outsiders as they seek Choi's body. The death of the 27-year-old on November 17 has cast a new spotlight on the efforts to protect one of the world's last uncontacted tribes whose languages and customs remain a mystery to outsiders. Fishermen who took Troy to North Sentio, which is one of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands in the Bay of Bengal, said they saw the tribe burying the body on the beach. The Sentinelese normally attack anyone who goes to the island, and Patrick said police are monitoring to see if there is a repeat of an incident after two fishermen who strayed onto the island were killed in 2006. 1 week after their death, the bodies of the two Indians were hooked on bamboo stakes facing out to sea. It was a kind of a scarecrow, Patrick said. We are studying the 2006 case. We are asking anthropologists what they would do when they kill an outsider, the police chief added. We are trying to understand the group psychology. Though Cho's death is officially a murder case, anthropologists say it may be impossible to retrieve the American body and that no charges will be made against the protected tribe. 7 people, including the 6 fishermen who were involved in ferrying Troy to North Sentio, have been arrested. Fishermen have accompanied the police teams to the islands to help efforts to pinpoint where Troy was killed. Anthropologists and tribal warfare experts who have had the previous rare contact with the Sentinelese have been heavily involved with the inquiry. Their advice will be important, said Patrick. We are taking the advice of the people in the field to advance this case. Now, again, as I read originally, going back a couple days, that story, first they said they grabbed him with a rope and they drug him. Then another story said they took him and they burned him. Another time they said they took him and they buried him. Which one the fuck is it? Which fuck is it? Which one is it? So that's what I'm saying. I ain't believing none of that shit until, because you can't get your story straight. Matter of fact, ain't nobody, okay, wait a minute. We in 2018 and a motherfucker ain't nobody got a goddamn phone camera to record shit. Do I need to say that again? It's 2018 and not one motherfucker got a camera phone, no motherfucker where to record shit. Ain't nobody got no satellite shit to go down and see shit. Huh? That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that. I ain't going to say no more. Take it or leave it alone. Take it or leave it alone. So let's see who out here before I get up out of here. Let's see. Let's see. What's good, Angela? Aaron, what's good? Natural Nature. I got I Am in the House. Green Clone State of Mind. What's good okay. What's good other than this channel? What's good than other than this channel? And then what you in here for? You come in here for? You ain't got to make no speech. You understand? You don't need no. You ever seen Cooley High? You know when they was down there trying to both get some and he couldn't get none? Now that's how you is. You ain't got to make no speech. You ain't got to make no speech. Ebony Cameron, his family, the Christian dude family, came out and said that their son caused his own death to leave the island people alone. Real talk. Like I said, unsung hero. Make a tune, put his name, you do the whole thing, but you ain't going to get nobody in there. But if you do, you're going to off-balance shit. You're going to call some other shit. So, again, most of the people say, leave the fuck alone. Go on about your long head. But they don't want to do that. He said, fuck that pandit dude. CG. What's good, girl? He said, if he never contacted the Andamanese, the tribe near the Sentinelese, and Andamanese would have never fell victim to rapes, alcoholism, and taking land and diseases. White people always use the excuse to go on indigenous land like they use that fake-ass Ebola, an excuse to go into Africa land for resources. Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. I ain't seen nothing. I'm hearing a story like I told you. Right? You got again, like I said, some fairy tale shit. Again, legend, but we ain't seen shit. It's too much technology to tell me that some motherfucker ain't got a phone. Ain't no, okay, you on the boat, okay, you can't get up on motherfucker. But y'all showed us one time, we showed them where you could see them on there scrambling on that one picture. Out of all this time, ain't nobody been trying man, we trying to, nobody? I don't believe that shit. I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. Those fishermen who strayed onto the island in 2006 were fishing illegally waters. They knew where the limits. The other case of people who knew full well what they were doing going near the island. Well, that's what I'm saying. Again, you can't be, I mean, I don't know if you was here earlier, the beginning of the show started off with Olivia Hooker. Now, the sister that was one of the survivors of 1921 about what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She passed 2 days ago, right? So, let me go. I ain't gonna do. I was gonna do something with that, but that's okay. There's a lot of fake news out there. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That whole thing. You know what I'm saying? We don't know what to take because, again, we just getting a story. Now, so I would say something, but it would be offensive to some people because, again, it's the same thing as some people. It's like a belief system. It depends on what you want to believe. Now, you could believe that. Now, again, who knows him other than what we've been told? We don't know. So, again, it could be a ploy or it could be real. We just don't know. So if everybody gonna be like, okay, cool, he there, let that stay, then everybody be couple steps. We'll keep the legend going. We'll talk about. You remember that time that motherfucker went over there trying to get a Bible to the motherfucker, and they killed his ass and speared his ass up. We'll keep that alive. But if you go there and fuck up what they got going and what they done established, then we all gonna have a problem with that. We all gonna have a problem with that. So. Again, TB continue, they out there, again, the way that story talking about they faced off. You ain't faced off. Not if you in the motherfucking water 300 nauticals away, 400 nauticals away, you ain't faced up with nobody. You get faced up with them, they ain't playing with you. They ain't playing that. They about that life. You about that life. They about that. And they serious about that because, again, I don't know you from Adam. So, again, that's just kind of giving us a peek in what may have happened in history. But they told us we was, succumbing and coming with bows and, come on, I got a hammock for you. You don't got nowhere to lay? Come on. No, I probably some of this shit right here. And then the disease came, and then you was able to do all that other shit. I don't think we're just coming in, boats like that, and everybody, we just sitting back like, no, okay, whatever. So, anyway... It is what it is. I want to thank y'all for those who came out and listened tonight. Again, what's the homie name? The one this did you say where you at, dude? This green clone state of mind. You hit that dislike and you put your comment saying I ain't shit. It wouldn't bother me none. I ain't type to block him. Matter of fact, I can get you want the phone number. You can call in. We can go at it. That's how I am. Me and you can go. You say what you want. You still there? We can do that. That's how, man, I'm built like that. So if that's what you want to do, come on with it, green. I ain't gonna waste no time with nothing like that. But anyway, so again, I want to thank everybody who came out tonight. You know how it is, family. You're always going to find some mug out here, Like I say, you don't need to make no speed. You can just make that move. So... again, we just, vigilant, stand up on what's going on. Sometimes people don't see where I'm coming from with, again, like I did the Muslim in this clean house. You ain't see what that was about. Again, Chinese, man. You better look at that continent. There's a whole lot of Muslim on that continent. And so whether they implementing over there in China, and they done bought pretty much Africa, you think they ain't going to implement that same shit? Oh, they going to bring it. The problem is, you know what I'm saying? If you didn't see that part, you'll see where a lot of Indians that's up in China, they separating the kids and they making they actually putting Chinese in their house to see if they're extremists and all this other shit. So, the continent gonna be having that problem in a minute too. And if you seen last night, I showed that sister that talked about how we ain't Africans. So a lot of y'all who be fighting want to be Africans, that one sister was like, You know, now, do she speak for the whole continent? No. She just speak for those, just like how we speak for some of us over here. So, you know, again, they going to have their problems. That don't mean that we disown it, but we just say, you got problems just like we got problems where we at. So, here's what it is, y'all. Oh, he gone? Yeah, of course he did. He gonna speak and he gonna run. Like, you know, again, I give the number. You want to talk crazy? I give the number. We can go at it. We put it right here. Put it for everybody. You can do what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? If I come somewhere, somebody says something I don't like, I just go on by my long head. I ain't got nothing to say. You always saying that because, again, you trying to be disruptive. You some kind of agent any damn way, right? But that don't rock my square. Like I said, where I grew up at, that's what we did for fun. So if you want to come with that anytime, we could do that. CDG was good anyway. Glad you're back for that Black Friday. I hope you didn't buy too many TVs. I hope y'all, I ain't catch none of my some of my subscribers on TV. Caught your ass on TV buying shit, fighting and drop kicking people trying to get a TV and shit. Anyway, y'all family, y'all good, man, and you know, peace, love, and watermelon, as CDG say, right? So you stay black and stay with power, and you know, man, give that universal nod and what's up when you see one another, man, okay? Because all we got is each other, and you know, as this thing keep progressing, man, you know, until you start looking at each other for what it is, because otherwise, you know, John Henry Clark done told you ain't got no friends. And you know, you try to do all this other shit and you think you got them, you ain't really got nobody. And if you can't get one amongst there, we really in trouble. So stop dropping a lot of that animosity shit and just, you know, yes, we're going to rub each other wrong once in a while because, again, that's just the dynamic that we make up. Just like I said the other night about what that sister said, that those who seen the video from yesterday. You know, she said all that talking about how we ain't Africans. So I said, well, how, talking about we mix. Yeah, we might be mixed, but damn, I think we infused with Mo. I think when you talk about we Nigerian, this, and that, but they took the best and the strongest because, again, what they were doing. So if you take that again, if I told you got Ali, Muhammad Ali, if I got Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Michael Jordan, LeBron, I got Simone Miles, I got all these up in my gene. You gonna tell me that we weak? We weak? No, we ain't weak. We ain't diluted. We infused. You just ain't figured because we don't look like you. Maybe we just our own. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I ain't gonna get on that no more. But again, for those who just come by, hit that like, dislike, comment. Peace, love, and power, y'all. I'm about to make that move. I'm gonna come find you. What's the name? We can talk. I'll set it up when you come on in there. And peace, love, and power, y'all.
Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
I'm here to tell you tonight that the businessmen, the mayor of this city, the police commissioner of this city, and everybody in the white power structure of this city must take a responsibility for everything. Can you feel it?
Luther and I and everyone in this arena tonight are unified by the same great American values. We're proud of our country. We respect our flag. Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners when somebody disrespects our flag? to say, get that son of off the field right now. Out. He's fired. He's fired.
Race is when you use your power and influence to subject people into inferiority. Utterances can't be racist.
Look around you, man. They own this shit. They own this couch you sitting on, them shoes you got on your feet, this building, this school, this country, you. We're behind enemy lines, dog.
So you must first of all remember that this system was not originally designed with black people in mind. Right on. And it definitely was not prepared for black people to in the end begin to demand their rights and an equal share in this country which they died for. Right on. Hey, and we definitely are not going back to Africa.
In the church, we used to sing the song, "Good news, the chariot is coming." While you sit here today, knowing that you have come to hear good news, you must realize in advance what good news for you might be bad news for somebody else. What good news for the sheep might be bad news to the wolf.
They say, oh, things are getting so much better for you. In 1849, it was hitting blacks on the head 100 times a day. In 1990, they hit them 48 times a day. Isn't it better? Oh, it's got to be better. You're saying 52 blows.
The only purpose of most black Americans on earth today is to destroy.
I think that's noble. Italians love Italians. When Irish love Irish. But when a nigga loves a nigga, it's an unpardonable sin.
They have blood in their hands. When we say they have blood in their hands, we are not saying him, George Bezos, went and killed. But white people colonized us. They dispersed us. They enslaved our people. They sucked our economy dry. They are still sucking it dry even today. That's white people. Tony Blair, George Bush, Napoleon Bonaparte, Leopold, Adolf Hitler, Benjamin Netanyahu. All white people, they are the same. They are racist and they are full of hate.
I've been waiting for you. You have many questions, and though the process has altered your consciousness, you remain irrevocably human. Ergo, some of my answers you will understand, and some of them you will not. Concordantly, while your first question may be the most pertinent, you may or may not realize it is also the most irrelevant.
Why am I here? Our world is coming crumbling down. The coons are coming.
You got to understand that white America has an uncanny way of making the victim the victimizer. Excuse me, master, for putting my head in the way of your club. Not that your club is brutalizing my head and putting hickeys on it. My head got in the way of your free swing and broke your shiny stick, and I want to apologize for that.
Your life is the sum of a remainder of an unbalanced equation inherent to the programming of the Matrix. You are the eventuality of an anomaly which, despite my sincerest efforts, I have been unable to eliminate from what is otherwise a harmony of mathematical precision. While it remains a burden assiduously avoided, it is not unexpected and thus not beyond a measure of control, which has led you inexorably here.
There are more connections in the human body than there are stars in the galaxy. We possess a gigantic network of information to which we have almost no access.
Matrix is older than you know. I prefer counting from the emergence of one integral anomaly to the emergence of the next, in which case this is the sixth version.
5 months before. There are only two possible explanations. 5 months before. Either no one told me, or no one knows.
Precisely. As you are undoubtedly gathering, the anomaly is systemic, creating fluctuations in even the most simplistic equations.
Can't control me! I'm gonna smash you to fucking Let me kill you! You can't make me do anything like this!
Choice. The problem is choice.
Let us remember that we are not brutalized because we're Baptists. We're not brutalized because we're Methodists. We're not brutalized because we're Muslims. We're not brutalized because we're Catholics. We're brutalized because we are black people in America.
Because white people made him to be what he is. They made him to look evil, because that's their role, to make all of us black people to look evil and to hate ourselves. I can't hate.
You're a nigga till you die. If you're a poor nigga, you're a poor nigga. If you're a rich nigga, you're a rich nigga. But you never stop being a nigga. And if you get to be educated, you're just an educated nigga.
Well, I'm told every day I'm on air that I'm racist because I call out racism. That is maddening to me, and I'm crying about it because it's crazy.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is teaching you and I and trying to tell the white man to get this powder keg out of his house. Let the black man separate from his house. Let the black man have his own house. Let the black man have his own land and his own property.
I thought the bitch was white! Damn it! I thought the bitch was white!
That's true. I think that white people are so guilty, knowing what they've done to black people, that they feel if the deeds were reversed, they would hate the black man if he had done the same thing to them. So it's actually, it reflects a guilt complex on the part of whites when they ask us, do we hate them? And if you notice, Uncle Sam has formed a habit of going all over the world. And he calls it the ugly American, or the American image. He thinks that everybody hates him because it's a guilt complex. And if you think that if you are worried about Europeans hating you, and they're your allies and your cousins, well, naturally it would follow for you to think that Negroes in this country would hate you, especially in light of what has been done to black people in this country by white people.
Now, check it out. The white ball dominates everything, right? Knocks the shit out the yellow ball, the red ball, right? And the game's over when the white ball drives the black ball completely off the table.
But you have to see that all of this is hypocrisy.
I love Malcolm. Malcolm called me the Sunday that he died. I was working Basin Street East. He said, "Brother Greg, you coming by today?" And I said, "Malcolm, I love you." And I said, "I love you so much, I don't even want to take a chance to be there." He said, "What do you mean, Brother Greg?" I said, "Well, I close tonight, Sunday night at Basin Street East." And I said, "But I had my wife book me a flight into Chicago at 8 o'clock this morning, and I'm going to Chicago, and I had way beneath my salary booked me into a college about 10 miles from the airport. And I'm going to go there and speak this afternoon, and I'm going to stay there until they tell me you dead. Because I'm not going to let this government get two of us for the price of one. And I'm going to call Adam Clayton Powell when I finish talking to you and beg him not to come there. Because today, the United States government is going to get you."